to have Honourable Rebecca Long Bailey, Salford MP, and she's going to lay her wreath down. We have Salford City Mayor Paul Bennett. He's going to lay the wreath down. To have the ceremonial mayor, Madam Gina Reynolds, please. We have all the councillors in our midst to come forward with their wreath and lay their wreath down.
Good resolution. Thanks. At least it's peaceful. It's a workplace.
Thank you, Councillor Alexis. Can you have Councillor Wilson to come forward? Now we are going to have the wreath by the survivors, represented by Adrian and the Rwandese community of Manchester. We're going to have wreaths by community leaders, all the Rwandan community leaders of Manchester. We're going to start with Newcastle. Followed by Oxford. Followed by Portsmouth. Portsmouth. Whilst we're waiting on Portsmouth, let's go to London quickly. Then we have Leeds. Leeds, yeah. Followed by Birmingham. we're going to have a wreath by the Burundian community. And last but not least, a wreath by the Remembrance community. We have Nottingham community. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please bear with us a few more moments as we welcome the HD to give us a brief word, and then we'll hear from the mayor briefly, and then we'll take a memorial picture.
Should lose anybody because of who they are. The people we remember today were killed because of who they are, who they were. No other reason. They were people like us. They were sons and daughters and children and husbands and wives of other people. They worked for their families, for their country, like all of us do. They were loved. But because of who they were killed. So why I'm thanking you, and I want the whole community of the Rwandans here to thank you, is because when I look around, I see diversity. I see people from all over the world meeting in this place. And I see mutual respect. I see compassion. I see love. I see unity in order to face the world. The world already gives us enough issues to deal with. It should never give us the issue of who we are to deal with. We are who we are because that is how we are made. It shouldn't be a reason any of us should ask themselves why the other should live or not live, to the point of taking that life because they don't think it is worth living. So we will be continuing our commemoration event later. So I want to thank you very much for coming here to recommit our loved ones who left and were killed. They didn't die of sickness, they didn't die of anything else. They were killed. We want to recommit to never again. In 1945, the world said never again. In 1994, the genocide happened, genocide against the Tutsi happened. So we commit ourselves to a never again for real. At least us in Rwanda, we do that. The reason we continue to come here to remember at all different places in the world is to recommit ourselves to never again and to express our solidarity with each other as humanity. Thank you very much. We will be continuing later.
Excellency, the High Commissioner of the Republic of Rwanda in the UK, and non-resident ambassadors to Malta and the Republic of Ireland, Johnson Busingye, and his team. Honorable MP Rebecca Lambert, Salford City Mayor Paul Bennett, Madam Ceremony Mayor Gina Rivers, all councillors, faith leaders, National Association of Rwandese Communities in the UK, Chairman Jabotera, all community leaders, distinguished guests, friends of Rwanda, fellow Rwandans, good afternoon. Renewal. I would like to welcome you and to thank everyone very much for giving us your precious time today and coming out in numbers to support us on this special day. Today's gathering is the 30th commemoration of the genocide against the Tutsi that was meticulously prepared and perpetrated in 1994 in Rwanda. It is a day to remember, to pay tribute to all our beloved innocent victims killed during the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi. It is a day to reflect and pray. On behalf of Rwandese community of Greater Manchester, I would like to take this opportunity to officially thank Salford City Mayor Paul Bennett for his understanding, compassion, generosity in allocating a space here in Salford to our community precisely as St. Stephen Gardens Park. The fact that recently Salford City Council, with the backing of a full Chamber Council meeting, has approved a 1 minute of silence before every year full council meeting on the 7th of April in the honor of the victim of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi perpetrated in Rwanda, and to lower the Rwandan flag in front of the council building, which was done this year, is also a testimony on how committed the council to support our Rwandese community. As a community, we pledge to you that we will be there too for the council if need be. I would like also to express our gratitude to our councillors for continuing to support our community. To our High Commissioner in the UK, we cannot thank you enough for the continuing support our community, the support you provide to our community. As we well know, the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi perpetrated in Rwanda took over 1 million lives of our loved ones in the space of only 100 days. Good leadership under His Excellency President Paul Kagame, courage, resilience, good governance, good and relevant institutions, and new infrastructure have shaped the Rwanda we are proud of today. 30 years after the genocide, Rwanda is now a beacon of hope to many countries in the world and a template on how to overcome adversity, division, and fraud. Rwanda is now capable of hosting big sport tournaments, big international conferences, and is offering peacekeeping troops to the country when called upon by UN on bilateral understanding. There is, however, considering this clear reassurance achievement, something I found very hard to comprehend. If Rwandan government can strike a comprehensive deal with the British counterpart to send illegal asylum seeking people to Rwanda to try and stop people dying at sea and to dismantle the smugglers' empire, is the right thing to do. It should also definitely be an honorable to do to either putting the genociders living freely in the UK through the justice system to try them here or send them.
Distinguished guests and dear friends, firstly, it is a huge honour and privilege for me to be standing here with you today to mark the 30th anniversary of the genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda. As we've already heard, Kwibuka is the period during which Rwandans around the world come together to remember their loved ones and to honour the resilience and courage of those who survived the 100 days of atrocity in 1994. 30 years is a milestone. Survivors have lived with the memory of the genocide for 30 years, and new generations of young Rwandans have grown into adults, starting families of their own. What legacy can we leave for these future generations? We have had 30 years of justice processes, both in Rwanda and at the international level. But sadly, the facts of the genocide are too often still shrouded in lies and disinformation, and we are facing a growing level of genocide denial and revisionism. So I would like to briefly address both these questions of international justice and genocide denial in my short remarks here today. Perhaps the most significant example of international justice is the International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda, the ICTR, which was established in Arusha, Tanzania in November 1994 in order to bring justice to the Rwandan people following the genocide and to try the most prominent perpetrators and political figures responsible for orchestrating the genocide. During its 22 years of operation, the ICTR convicted a total of 85 individuals, but with very little media coverage or publicity during the trials themselves, and with competing international political agendas at play, most of those convicted remain unknown to the wider public, and many prominent criminals have already been released. At a time when international justice is very much in the headlines, we must question to what extent justice has been achieved by the ICTR and other mechanisms, and what level of understanding the public really has of these complex and often opaque mechanisms of the international criminal justice system. Recognition of international responsibility during the genocide has also been a slow and often opaque process. Most recently in France, for example, President Emmanuel Macron commissioned 14 historians to investigate accusations that the French state was complicit in the genocide. In 2021, the Commission's report confirmed that France bore an overwhelming responsibility and had supported the genocidal government, even rescuing the genocidal forces afterwards. There have also been several trials of former genocide perpetrators who have been apprehended in Belgium and France in recent years. However, a strange silence still exists here in the UK concerning our own failure to bring to justice the known perpetrators of genocide who still live within our borders. 5 fugitive Rwandans with alleged leadership roles in the genocide against the Tutsi have been known since 2008, but our judicial authorities continue to fail to act. As the High Commissioner pointed out at an event at the Foreign and Commonwealth Office earlier this week in London, the more time passes and the older these genocide suspects get, the further the possibility of justice recedes. As Andrew Wallace, a prominent historian, pointed out at the International Kubuka Conference in Kigali at the beginning of April this year, the names of these genocide perpetrators, and indeed the names of any of the principal genocide perpetrators, are not known in the UK, which gives genocide deniers free rein. Without a perpetrator, there is no crime. Gregory Stanton of Genocide Watch reminds us that denial is the final stage of genocide. But we have to remember that denial is also central to the genocidal process from the very beginning. Today we see more and more insidious forms of denial and revisionism, couched in language seeming to promote democracy and human rights, to make these seem like reasonable, balanced views. But ultimately, these views are underpinned by the very ideology that led to the genocide against the Tutsi in 1994. Deniers tell us that the victims are to blame by provoking their killers. They tell us that there was no conspiracy to murder, that the genocide was not planned, that there was no intent to destroy. They claim that there were 2 genocides, that Rwanda was involved in a bloody civil war where both sides were as bad as the other. This theory of double genocide deflects responsibility from the perpetrators by implying that the victims brought it on themselves. Denialist arguments, supported by convincing strategies of disinformation and often backed up by established journalists, academics, or other figures of authority, can influence public opinion and political decision-making. We see this in the UK media, where, rather than seeking to understand the facts, our newspapers turn to journalists and intellectuals who are repeating the same tropes used by the former genocidaires, which bolsters their networks and continues to foster a culture of impunity. The harm that genocide denial causes for survivors is incalculable. Genocide denial is yet another injustice and form of violence inflicted against survivors. Denial is never only words, it is a continuation of the things that led to the genocide. It's part of genocide and an ideology that can easily become a violent reality once again, if not challenged. But I would be remiss if I didn't mention also the steps that have been taken in the UK. And we've heard today about the initiatives that Salford has undertaken. And we've also got numerous cities across the UK that have now committed to erecting memorial stones in memory of the victims of the genocide against the Tutsi. And I'm very proud to say that we will be inaugurating a memorial stone this year in Newcastle on the 1st of June, and you're very welcome to join us at that inauguration.
Your Excellency, the High Commissioner of Rwanda in the UK, Ceremonial Mayor of the City of Salford, Member of Parliament for Salford and Eccles, fellow dignitaries, councillors, members of the Rwandese community, friends of the Rwandese community, friends and fellow members of the human race. Together, we gather here today in the great city of Salford, at the same time that the flame of remembrance is burning for 100 days since the 7th of April at the Kigali Genocide Memorial in Rwanda. This year is the 30th commemoration of the 1994 genocide perpetrated against the Tutsi in Rwanda, with the theme this year being Remember, Unite and Renew. Today we solemnly remember and reflect on the genocide of the 1994 and the 30 years that have passed since that horror. And as we recall in our own ways the genocide perpetrated against the Tutsi, we remember that more than 1 million lives were lost, and this was a colossal human rights atrocity. We also reflect on the aftermath, some of us directly remembering the horrors, the vividness, and the banality of evil over those 100 dark days. And others, myself included, reading, seeing, and hearing about the horrors through other people's accounts, or experiencing it through other people's lives, stories, and experiences. We've had the honour and privilege of coming in contact with them. Over the past 30 years, we also acknowledge the ways in which the people of Rwanda have sought to find healing, understanding, and move forward. Today, in the city of Salford, a city now formally recognised as a city of sanctuary for our work to support people seeking asylum, refugees, and our work on equality, we continue this journey of healing. And we stand shoulder to shoulder and in solidarity with the Rwandese community here in this city and beyond. As the elected mayor for the city of Salford, I'm truly honoured and humbled that we're able to support the Rwandese community in this way. Remembering, uniting, and renewing, demonstrating what it means to be a city of sanctuary in practice, whilst also doing justice to the motto of the City Council that reads Salus Populi Suprema Lex, because in this city we know that indeed the welfare of the people is the highest law. The bitter lessons learned in Rwanda teach us all that hope can be regained through a collective seeking of the truth, recognising we are all fellow brothers and sisters and members of the human race, and through reconciliation and restorative justice. Today in our cities of Salford and Manchester, our remembrance walk from the cathedral, the wreath laying at the memorial stone, the unveiling of the memorial stone itself last year in St Stephen's Gardens, the City Council's commitment to formally recognising the 1994 genocide perpetrated against the Tutsi by having a minute's silence at the full council and also flying the Rwandan flag. And even the speeches we deliver here today at the 30th commemoration of the 1994 genocide perpetrated against the Tutsi. All of this demonstrates our commitment to your community. But beyond that, I do need to pay thanks and tribute to the journey we've been on here in the city of Salford. I'm truly honoured and humbled to be the city mayor and the leader of a council and a party that has really embraced equality. We now have people in our city who will want people seeking asylum, holding public office and delivering services to our city, shaping policy and strategy. I've always believed in direct empowerment, not tokenistic engagement, but genuinely empowering people to contribute on behalf of their communities, their experiences, and how they see the world through public office. And we've made great strides in that vein. So today there's been a lot of accolades made about myself, but I have to say, the way we get done things in Salford is through teamwork. And I have an amazing team of councillors. The council now is far more diverse than it's ever been, both in terms of gender, ethnicity.
In memory of the souls who were unjustly snatched away, we gather in solemn silence on this, the 30th anniversary of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi. A day of remembrance of a horror so profound of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, where lost souls were found. In the heart of Rwanda, where the Tutsi used to thrive, darkness came and swept, leaving only a few to survive. An echo of a past that time can never erase, a haunting melody of a once peaceful place. 3 decades have passed since that merciless raid, where under a cloud of fear, the innocent were laid. Siblings, parents, children, a whole generation lost, a price too steep to comprehend, an unimaginable cost. All for something out of their control, an ethnicity that they for once never chose. Once dancing and laughing with one another, switched to death and war from one to the other. Chants of murder filled the air. Tutsi people prayed, gripped by despair. But Rwanda you rose from the ashes of despair, a nation rebuilt on hope and the promise to repair. The strength of your spirit, like the sun's relentless glow, a testament to resilience and the courage to grow. Today we stand with you in remembrance and grief, in honor of the fallen and in the hope of relief. May the lessons learned from this terrible flight guide us towards a future where love conquers fight. For the Tutsi, for Rwanda, we light this candle bright, a beacon in the darkness and a symbol of your fight. May we never forget the pain that you have known, and may the seeds of peace in our hearts be sown, remembering the genocide against the Tutsi 30 years hence, with respect, with sorrow, with recompense. We honor the past, prevent such darkness from happening ever again. In this signet moment, let us all vow to stand, united against hatred, across every land. For the memory of the Tutsi, let this message ring. In the face of injustice, let love be the thing.
The Rwandese diaspora in the UK joins millions of Rwandans and friends of Rwanda around the world for the yearly commemoration of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi. And today we remember and honour the lives of the loved ones who were lost. But we also stand in awe, really, of the resilience of the survivors and stand in solidarity with them and what they experienced. And I want to thank the Rwandan community of Greater Manchester for organising today's very important event. I'd also like to thank the High Commissioner for his attendance here today and in previous years. I'd like to thank our Mayor, Paul Dennett, for his work in bringing communities together across Salford. I'd also like to thank the ceremonial Mayor Gina and her husband Neil for their unwavering support. And of course, I'd very much like to thank Councillor Alexis Sharma and Councillor Wilson Nkurunziza and Councillor August for the huge amount of work that they do, both in organising events like today, but again, like Paul, in bringing people right across Salford together. Now, the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda was a horrific tragedy, and it shocked the world. And those of us watching at the time could only imagine the trauma of such an experience and what each and every person who was touched by those events has been through. And when there is peace where you live, like there is in our country here, it's easy to forget the full awfulness of going through such an experience. And that's why it's so important that we hear the stories of those who were survivors, that we never forget and are always reminded of why we must not travel down paths of hatred and resentment. And that's why today is about remembering truths that are quite often difficult to come to terms with. But it's important for us today to pledge to ensure that it never happens again. Now, in terms of story, there's a wonderful lady who's here today called Deborah, and I'm sure many of you know her already. Deborah wrote a book about her experiences. And when she came to my office to tell me what she'd been through, I was honestly shaken to my core. I couldn't understand how one woman and her family could carry on after the horrors that they witnessed. And Deborah wrote a book about what she went through. And it was a book that was a testament to survival, a testament to resilience and faith. But more importantly, it was about hope, and it was about our love and shared humanity. And when I met Deborah that day, and I'm pleased to say now we're really good friends, she's one of the greatest people I've ever met, one of the things that struck me about Deborah, and many of the people that I meet when I talk about the horrors of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, is not that there's anger and resentment. It's that hope and love for the future. It's that understanding that no matter where we are or who we're from, we're all the same inside. We all have a need to be loved. We all have loved ones that we love. We all want the best for our families. And it's about making sure that we remember that, and that we don't just see our differences and go down paths of resentment or hatred. So today, let us remember those who lost their lives, but importantly, let us pledge to a future that all of us together will build in love, in hope, and that we will not cease in trying to build that future of dignity, tolerance, and human rights for all. And sometimes that can seem difficult when you've got the whole world to try and bring with you. But let's start in our towns and cities that we've all come from today, and make sure that we're that voice of love and hope in our own communities. Thank you very much for being here in Salford today. Thank you.
High Commissioner of Rwanda in the UK, Rebecca Long-Bailey MD, City Mayor Paul Dennett, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, very good afternoon to you all. It's wonderful to see so many people here today at this commemorative event. I'm really honoured and humbled to have been invited to the 30th commemoration of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda. It is one of the most notorious and horrific modern genocides. 75% of the Tutsi population were killed in less than 100 days, with women subjected to sexual violence on a massive scale. As we know, there are survivors here today, and it is really important that they share their stories to inform the world about genocide and inspire a global sense of responsibility to prevent human rights atrocities. It is crucial that we honour the memory of those who lost their lives by seeking justice and holding those responsible to account. The survivors, along with their families, continue to bear the burden of imaginable loss. By acknowledging their pain and amplifying their voices, we strive to ensure that such atrocities are never forgotten and that history does not repeat itself. In the face of such heinous acts, it is our duty to work tirelessly towards peace, reconciliation and healing. We must promote dialogue and understanding and respect among different ethnic and cultural communities. Only by recognising our shared humanity and embracing diversity can we build a future that is free from violence and discrimination. Salford has a history of being inclusive and welcoming people irrespective of their backgrounds. I'd like to pay tribute to one of my fellow councillors and good friend Wilson Curran-Ziza, who was instrumental, along with Alexis Sharma and other councillors, in ensuring that Salford became a city of sanctuary, welcoming those fleeing persecution and violence in their own country. And I feel very proud that Salford achieved that status. As we remember the victims of the massacre, let us reconfirm our commitment to stand against hatred, prejudice and violence in all its forms. Together by our actions, such as educating and understanding, we can create a world where every individual, regardless of their background, can live in dignity and peace. Thank you.
Rwanda in the UK and Salford City Council for memorial place to remember all innocent people who were killed in genocide against Tutsi in 1994 in Rwanda. Now Salford City has agreed for a minute of silence at the council meeting to remember all innocent people killed in genocide against Tutsi in 1994. I'm very proud for what we have achieved here in Salford. This year marks the 30th anniversary of genocide against Tutsi in Rwanda. In 3 months, over 1 million innocent people were killed. Women, men, children, and the newborn. Today, we stand in solidarity with the people of Rwanda and honor those who were murdered and reflect on the suffering and the resilience of those who survived. Words will never be strong enough to describe these shocks, disaster, whose 30th anniversary we are making today. This is the best way to honor those who lost their life for 30 years ago. We must take a hard look at the present. Rwanda is a small land with a great vision and a bright future. I'm very proud of what the government of Rwanda has achieved, reconciliation and building the country. Today, commemoration gives us an opportunity to raise our voice once again against genocide. I say never again to all kinds of genocide, never again to genocide against Tutsi. All human beings have the right to live, I believe, equal opportunities. Let us stand together and fight against all killing and discrimination. We remember to never forget, but also never start again. Thank you.
Mayor Paul Janet, Ceremonial Mayor Reynolds, Dr. Catherine Gilbert, Adrian Rutahunga, Councillors, distinguished guests present here, fellow Rwandans, friends of Rwanda, ladies and gentlemen, permit me to express our deepest thanks to each of you for being here at this solemn occasion here at Sarfa. And thank you for all the speakers who spoke before me. We gather here for the 30th commemoration of the genocide against the Tutsi. The 30th commemoration is an important time in our journey since 1994. MP, Mayor, whole team, whole Salford Council, you have no idea how humbled we feel to be with you here. Thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts. Not only this time, I remember last year you were with us, and I suspect I've always been. Thank you for being with us. It means a lot for our community. It means a lot for their confidence and their trust and their ability to work and feel part and parcel of the community they live in. Why is the 30 years important to us? Since our independence, we got independence in 1962, but the last 30 years, from 1994 to now, are the first straight period where Rwandans classified as Tutsi have lived their lives with no fear of being targeted, stalked, discriminated, killed, or denied any opportunity. They are the first 30 straight years that all of us, that no Rwandan of whatever background or circumstances has had to be required to identify by ethnicity. It is the first 30 years that the ethnicity card has played no role in our politics, in our electoral competition, in employment, in education, or in anywhere else. For the first time, we have a generation of Rwandans who know that only being Rwandan is their identity and their right of passage to be, to do, or to achieve anything in their lives. So you understand what this 30 years means to us. It's such an important moment in our lives. The past 30 years also represent rebirth and the power of hope and commitment. In 1994, our country was nearly obliterated. we could have opted to give up hope and resign to some uncertain fate. But the struggle to liberate and transform Rwanda had never been downhill, so we chose to rebuild our unity as the guarantor and the foundation if we were to ever rise. So this commemoration, 30th commemoration, is therefore also a testament that the foundation of unity resulted in incredible resilience. And here we are, united and working to ensure that future generations will protect and expand these gains. We are grateful, Adrian, who just gave his testimony here. He wasn't reading a speech like us, it was coming from his heart. He narrated the horror he personally experienced during the genocide. And you heard his story, how he can't explain, how he can't narrate everything, every detail in his journey to survive. During the genocide, survival was a daily, scary burden. Each other day one lasted only meant that death would come the next day. This would be the situation until he or she is killed the next day or is rescued by the RPF and told that he's now safe and nobody will hunt for them again. When you listen to stories of survival, they always end with people being rescued by the RPF importantly, and being told specific words: you are now safe, nobody will hunt for you again. Everybody who survived remembers that. By that time, most people would have given up the hope to live, and they didn't believe it was a genuine rescue, and they actually demanded for proof that it was a genuine rescue, because they would have given up any hope of surviving. Every genocide survivor carries this horror story in their memory, but they consciously choose not to be hostages and opt instead to remember and renew. Adrian represents thousands of other survivors who, like you had, survived by accident. The testimonies and the strength of survivors help educate and contribute significantly to our shared desire to make never again a reality, to transmit memory through generations, and to remind us that genocide ideology and denial are real. No genocide happens without a plan and preparation and without state involvement. The genocide against the Tutsi didn't start with the machetes of 1994 April. It started decades earlier with state-directed ethnic populism, classification of people, discrimination, dehumanization, over time, and all done with unimaginable impunity. You had what they called going to work, which was like we wake up every morning going to work. The classification of Rwandans into ethnic groups and the addition of Hutu and Tutsi into our identity cards were introduced by the colonial administration in the early 1930s. And those were the seeds. The rest was growth and entrenchment through the same colonial administration, through religion, and through false science, which set out to prove that Rwandans were different by comparing
their faces, their noses, their height, in utterly ridiculous experiments. In 1959, those classified as Tutsi were violently attacked, killed, uprooted and expelled to the neighboring countries. The post-colonial regimes did not reverse this aberration, but entrenched ethnic division as policy, eventually portraying Tutsi as a different, foreign, and evil race, coining atrocious rallying calls, mobilizing all sectors of the population, and testing genocidal killings from time to time in the decades after independence, before 1994. In the lead up to 1994, lists of Tutsis to be killed were drawn up, militias were organized, quantities of weapons were imported and distributed to citizens as tools for work. As these actions were happening, the world was watching. The international community was at all times represented in Rwanda. At the many levels, the international community is always represented. Before and during the genocide, the UN was on the ground. The Security Council debated in New York whether what was happening was actually genocide. The genocide which happened in 1994 was
what she was trying to do was to try to divide us, and she could give me my young brother, and she could stay with the young ones as well. We met a lot of tragedy there. I don't know how I can explain everything because it was a lot. We stayed in that place until the 17th. There was something I could say, a lie, because they told that that we had peace in the area. But that was a strategy that was being used so that they can call all the Tutsi in one place so they can kill them easily. You can imagine from the 12th to the 17th, people had gathered together, were very many. So they came back.
Bafite noneho imbunda nyinshi cyane bari bahuruje abantu kubera ko ahitwa Rwamatamu bazi Rwamatamu twari turi muri zone turquoise no kuvuga ngo twege inkotanyi ntago zatugezeho mbere abagize amahirwe na bari batuye mu bice bibanziriza Kigali ariko twege Kibuye kubera zone turquoise abahungaga muri Kongo nibo batwicishije za mbunda za batarwanishije n'inkotanyi.
So the killers came, many of them, because we were gathered together. Because of the area we were not very lucky that the FPR Inkotanyi could not reach us easily because of where we are. So people, the killers who were running to Congo were killing us through their way to Congo.
Uko twari twahungiye mu nsengero niko twabigenje bamwe biroha mu nsengero abandi biroha mu mashuri.
Some of our people were in the churches, were running and hiding in churches. Others were running, hiding in schools.
Barongera bigenza nkuko babigenje.
They did it again the way they were doing it.
Abantu barahabwa ari benshi cyane.
Other people died. Many people died again.
Barongeye batubwira yuko dushobora guhurira mu kibuga nka gutya.
They called us and said we could meet in a field some big like this. They said again that there was peace. Still, that was another strategy, that it was a lie. This time it was final. Where now, this time it was critical, it was
they put us in one field and they surrounded us.
batujugunyamo amabombe.
And they were throwing bombs to us.
Hakurya no hakuno hari abicanyi bafite ibikoresho bitandukanye.
They were surrounding us with different machetes or things that they wanted to use to kill us.
Wahagurukaga urusasu rwaramukubitaga ariko twebwe twumvaga twakwicwa n'amasasu kurusha kwicwa n'umupanga.
So if you moved, they could shoot you, but that was a privilege to be shot.
Baraturashe baraturasa.
They shot to us,
Ariko nabashije kuryama.
But I was able to lie down.
Nari ndi kumwe na mama na barumuna banjye twari tukiriho.
I was with my mother and my siblings.
Wahagurukaga akangwaho.
And the one who stood and was shot, they would die or they would be and fall onto me.
Ngira ngo niko nabashije gukira mwaho.
That's how I survived, because of people lying on top of me.
Twari twegeranye na mama n'abashiki banjye batatu na my brother nkurikiraga.
Around me there was my mother, my two sisters and my young brother.
My brother we uko nibuka niwe nabonye bakubita ubuhiri hano ahita apfa.
My young brother is the one I remember that they used a hammer to hammer his head and he died there.
Ariko mushiki wanjye wabashije kurokoka nawe yambwiye uko mama nawe bamutemaguye.
And my sister who survived was able to narrate to me how my mom was slaughtered. And even my young sisters were killed in her presence. Among the corpse,
niho nasize mama wanjye n'abashiki banjye babiri na my brother.
That's where I left my mother, my sister and my sisters and my young brother. I stood up. I saw my little sister as well, still alive. I took her hand. And we were walking on top of dead bodies. A lot. There was a lot of dead bodies. There were parents cursing those that are killing them. They were in anguish and cursing, saying to the killer, "This blood, you will regret doing this." There are some people who are still fighting, breathing the last breath. They were trying to stand up, but because they were weak, they could fall. As I go forward, we were going on top of dead bodies, myself and my little sister. We didn't know where we were going. We went through the forest, we went up the mountains. But truly we didn't know where we were going. We were just trying to keep ourselves safe and run away from the killers. Because of being so hungry and being thirsty, we just went into a home that we didn't know who lived there. But they chased us away and said, "We do not hide Tutsi. They have to die. They have to perish." I went back with my little sister. The good thing is it was raining season, so we could drink the rainwater that was on the floor. Just clearing the thirst. We stayed in that place for 3 days. It was a bit an upper hill from where we had come from, the field that I told you about. The killers had brought these big vehicles that dig, so they were digging, they were carrying and digging holes, carrying the dead bodies and just dumping them in the hole, in the wall, in the pits that they had created.
Last week
Last week I was listening to the testimonies of others that survived there.
hari abana bagiye bagumyemo aho ngaho twege twavuye bagumyemo mpaka n'ima mashini agiye kubashyingura.
There are other people who are still alive in the corpse, and they stayed there even when they were trying to bury them in the pit.
Ariko nabo baje kurokoka.
But thank God they also they were able to survive.
Narumiwe ntabwo nari nzi ko hari umuntu warokotsemo hariya wundi.
I didn't know there is any survivor that came out of that.
Abo bana twaje guhura nyuma turi kuzerera aho hantu hose.
We met those young people when we were roaming around looking for somewhere to hide.
Twe tubabwira ko tugiye kwisubira aho duturuka uko hano tutahazi twazahapfira.
And we say to them, we are going to go back to our own home because we don't know this place and we don't know where to hide.
Uwo mwana yaranyibukije yavuze yuko ngo hari abantu bahitwa Imugozi bagiye ariko ntabwo nzi ko nabo barokotse ariko narishimye abarokotse.
The person that survived told me that there were others that lived in a place called Mugozi. Yes. And they also survived, so I didn't know there was anybody who survived.
Nihuse twafashe urugendo dusubira aho duturuka.
Let me go quickly. We went back where we came from.
Mu by'ukuri ubuhamya bw'amezi atatarenga 3 ni bwinshi cyane ntabwo namenye uko nabivuga.
To be fair, to tell you what happened in 3 months, it's a long story. I don't know how to cut it short.
Twageze aho dutuye.
When we went back to where we used to live,
twagenze nk'amasaha 4 guca 3.
We walked for 3 to 4 hours.
Twahageze bukeye.
We were there in the early mornings.
Ariko hari umumama wasenganaga na mama wanje.
There was a lady who used to pray with my mom.
Numvaga ariko ari we dushobora kuduhisha.
I was confident and hoping that she was able to hide us.
Tutaramugeraho.
Before we got to her,
twahageze bagiye gutangira kwica kuko bajyaga nkuko nabivuze ubushize bari bafite gahunda yo kuvuga ngo tugiye mu kazi mu gitondo uko abandi bajya gukora bo bajyaga kwica ngo tugiye mu kazi.
When we got there in the early mornings, as I said previously, the killers used to say we are going to work. As people wake up to go to normal work, their purpose was to wake up and go to work, meaning to kill.
Barambonye.
They saw me.
Ndiruka.
I ran.
Mushiki wanjye warakomeza.
My sister
yarakomeje abasanga.
She continued towards them, walking towards them.
Je banyirukaho.
They ran after me.
Uko hari hafi y'iwacu.
Because it was close to our
bari
home.
Bamenye.
They knew who I was.
Sinzi uko nabacitse.
I'm not sure how I survived that.
So nihisha ahantu kugeza mu mugoroba.
I hid myself until the evening.
Ubwo nari nzi ko mushiki wanjye yapfuye.
I thought my sister had died.
Mugoroba nagiye kuri uwo mama.
In the evening, I went to the lady that I spoke up earlier about, who prayed with my mother.
Nsanga aracyariho.
I found that she was still alive.
Twisha aho ngaho.
We hid ourselves there.
Ariko igihe hari hamaze kuba igihe kirekire cyane.
But it had been a long period of time. We spent a lot of time there.
Ariko atubwira yuko atagumye kuduhisha kuko bamaze kumenya ko tuhari.
But the lady said that she couldn't hide us anymore because now the killers knew that they were there.
Hari haje n'akandi kana k'agakobwa.
There was another young girl there as well.
Batumaze kuba batatu.
So we were 3 of us.
Afata decision yuko azasigarana agashiki kanje ko kari gato.
The lady took a decision and said, "I will remain with you. She will remain with my sister because she was younger." Because she thought she could hide my little sister at least in a box, and maybe put some clothes on top of that box. And then for us, we needed to leave. And that's what happened. We went back to the forest that I spoke earlier about that we were hiding in. Myself and the young girl. This lady was a good person.
abantu bose ntago bajya baba babi.
Not all the people are bad people.
hari ahantu yari yaratweretse azajya adushyiriye ibiryo noneho twe tukajya kwihisha mu ishyamba.
She had showed us a spot where she would be bringing food for us, and then we could come out of the forest and get the food.
Ishyamba twarimazemo igihe kinini cyane ntibuka.
We stayed in the forest. I don't remember how long, but it was a long time.
Mumbabarira icyo gihe ntago twamenyaga amatariki, twabonaga bucya bundi bukira.
I apologize, we didn't know the time at that time. All we knew was it was night and it was morning. All I can remember was that the cloud of Rwanda was full of blood. That's what I could see. I'm telling you the truth that I couldn't even see a bird. I stayed in a forest for a long time. And that forest, there were the wild animals there. I saw one animal in the forest. Even them, they were running away. Because people had turned into animals. So a time came when the French army came into the area. That the lady who was hiding my sister is the one who told us. And the lady told us that the French army were going to take us away from the danger zone and take us to the safe place. But because we were Tutsi, so what was happening was that the Hutu who had perpetrators of genocide were running to Congo, but and us Tutsi were running to find the Inkotanyi FPR, and the Hutu who wanted also to come and join. This lady looked for somebody who could connect us with the French army. They came to the house. So she said to us that you will need to come out of the forest and come to the house. I can't remember the day or the time, but all I know is we needed to meet the French army at the house. So the French army came and found us at this house. There were 4 of them. They put us in the middle. They put us in the middle and walked with us down the hill to the road. On the hill, there was a lot of people. So they were shouting, saying that are these children of this family still alive? My father was a known person. His name was Rwigema. That name was a problem, hence why he was well known. As you know, Rwigema was Inkotanyi. The French took us into their cars. They took us in a city called Gishita.
Yes.
They left us there. They left us there and left us in the middle of the Hutu that were running to Congo. I apologize that I'm using ethnic Hutu and Tutsi, but that's what Rwanda was then, but this is different now. The ethnics that killed the Tutsi was called Hutu. But now we are all Rwandans. When we reached into this city called Gishita, when we thought they had taken us to the Inkotanyi, they left us in the middle of the Hutu. We stayed there for 3 days, wondering how we're going to do it.
twari twahuriye n'abandi bantu bari nabo abafaransa bagiye batoragura ahantu barokotse.
We met other people that the French had brought into that place as well.
Twaje guhura dukora akanama.
We had to meet and have and we gathered together and had a meeting.
Tubona abandi bantu bambaraga ingofero za blue.
We saw people who are wearing blue hats.
Ngira ngo bari UN or something. Monique.
I think they were from the UN. They are the ones who took us to the Inkotanyi. We saw Inkotanyi like that. To see Inkotanyi was as if we had seen the angels. We had hope. It wasn't easy. As I said, I was 13 at the time. My firstborn right now is 13. I told them what happened. And he said to me, Dad, that was tough. But I said to him that we were men at the time. And we're still strong men. And he needs to be a strong man as well. Because he's in a good Rwanda. I'm going to finish thanking. If I don't thank, then we are not grateful. I thank our leaders of Inkotanyi. They did great things. If you can't see, then you're blind. We grew in a lot of problems, but you helped us. We have studied. When you see those handsome and great men wearing uniforms, they are among us who survives. Some of our survivors are within the government. We go on to remember and we meet when we are older. We thank God who blessed us with Inkotanyi. I have no doubt that God blessed us with Inkotanyi. And I have no doubt whoever fights their plan or the government, you're fighting God. That's my faith. So I thank you, Inkotanyi. Please also thank them for me. Thank you for listening. Let's remember, renew, and rebuild.
Thank you, Adrian, for your bravery to share such testimony. And there is so many people in this room who share a similar testimony to Adrian. We thank you for your bravery. If there is anybody in here who needs support, we have a well-being officer at the back. Please see them. She's called Philomene. She's standing at the back, and she'll be able to assist you. We are going to hear another poem of another youth, Jolis Gasana. And as he's coming forward, I'm going to ask all the children from the age of 5 upwards to go at the back. The protocol team will help you, and they will give you something. So please, all the young people from the age of 5, you can move to the back as Jolis is coming forward to give us his testimony.
Your Excellency, High Commission, our High Commission, Parliament, Excellency Voters, board members, distinguished councillors, and all protocols observed. Greetings. My name is Jabo Pera, and I am the chair of the National Association of Rwanda Communities. Together with our team, we thought we'd come to give this remark as one. Two simple things we wanted to share with you as Rwandans, and particularly when one is called to go forth and be in the spotlight or to lead. Today, we are commemorating 30 years. 30 years of being at the front in the world saying, never again. We've been renewing every year that word, never again. Never again a genocide. Never again a genocide against us. Never again a genocide anywhere in the world. Never again discrimination of any form. Rwanda and Rwandans have been doing that. So the two things I wanted to particularly pay attention on is, the first one is to all the survivors, mentioning that we see you, we feel you, and we are here. Because sometimes we come in this moment and we just get carried on with everyday life. And we take it as if it's just a walk in the park. But it has been 30 years. Individuals have been carrying that moment when it happened. Today, they can still remember the sound, the smell, the everything was happening. By you being here today, you're sure you are with them. The second one is, you see on the theme we've been doing for quite a while now, 3 words, which is remember, unite, and renew. I wanted to touch particularly on the word unite. Rwanda, we've been leading in the world again by that word of working as unity. And hence we come all together as the night because we were united. This is Rwanda. When you meet every Rwandan, no matter where you find them, either in a position of leadership or in a position of non-leadership or any position, even in their household, we have learned a lesson to be united. This is something we want to share with the world. Because it's by being united that you can renew that commitment, saying we're not going to be divided again. Being united means not being divided, but it does not mean it's only when you're at the top or when you're at the front. United is everything. And this is my challenge for you to follow as Rwanda, Umunyarwanda. Ubayeho mu bumwe cyangwa se gutana. As Rwanda, when you step in a light, when someone says you're Rwanda, what are they seeing in you today, Rwanda? It's the word light. As one. But once it's violent, we fall. So let us always remember and continue to be united and renew that commitment of never. We thank you.
roots of our country are fixed in the firm foundation of our pain and sorrows. The seed planted by those who saw our people as less than the artists, intellects, pioneers. They were the people that looked past the beauty and intelligence that we behold, the conquerors of tomorrow. Our blessings of humanity haven't been stripped and streaming away in the deceased's dying tears. We were shown no light, blessed with no water, and withdrawn from soil of nourishment, starving upon entrance into this world of blossomed expectations, deprived of our human rights, as they feared it would keep our roots in the soil. Turmoil is not a word to describe the occurrence, as awareness was very much present. Confusion was far from mind. Planned attacks and sinful acts carried out with no hesitation. Hands that are still not washed of the blood of our loved ones are still here in this very country roaming free. Not uprooting of our people, the inhumane behaviors, the cowardly namesakers, who called out to say, had he been Yenzi Hannah. In translation, there's another cockroach here, the vile slander. And then that person that was captured was just another one in their eyes. You see, another one is a loved one who didn't deserve to die. The leaving behind for the survivors leaves so many so overwhelmed. Guilt, sorrow, anguish, and resentment were the gift of being able to survive. The so-called gift of life from those taking their lives in the treacherous times of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsis. 30 years on, but the wounds are still fresh. Pain still lingers, and conversation still causes shivers. We think back to a time before my time, to those long before our rise, millions had to sadly fall. 1 million in 100 days. I'm sure that phrase is engraved into many of our minds, because these statistics ring so fictional due to the malicious nature and mind-blowing nature of the all, but it's very true. So, with our cousin to the young men who fought and stood for their country in a name and with pride. With our cousin to the young women, despite all the treachery, stood strong to birth a new generation of Rwandans, to raise them up to build and strive. With our cousin to the people to this day that don't allow the deniers to deny the atrocity of 1994, of those sleepless days and 100 nights. With our cousin to the survivors for being the memory keepers of the loved ones lost, embodying their beings and allowing the next generation to live in memory of those who they have no recollection of. Standing together at Kwibuka 30, saying how we shall not stand to see our people die again. So we can't let another dying memory disappear. From the ashes of the soil they shall rise again, with love and favour. By force and hopeful nature, our families' memories will not lay on that dying bed. The resilience of those who fought, the FPL and survived victims allow this to be true. Allow us to love our country and believe that our country loves us too. To see past the divide, to see a flourishing life. The trauma, the pain and heartbreak ignited the drive to produce more talented kids with heartache, the kids with hearts full of love. For their country, hearts full of love. For their people, hearts full of love. For those who fought on what Rwanda has slowly become. Without forgetting, because to forget we shall never do. So we water one another, bring light to our fellow sisters and brothers, and allow that tree of Rwanda that was attempting to be uprooted hold firm in our soil. Produce fruit full of riches so royal, so beautiful and so good. Sorry, Rwanda, for all you've been through. Thank you to the resilient people of Rwanda. Like I said, the survivors, the government of unity, and those before us, for pulling us, the youth, Uganda Gwejo, through to the other side, giving us the opportunity to see the light past the rubble, hope past the struggle, love and peace past the division, and God's goodness past the times of trouble. Thank you, Rwanda, because my soul will be so proud to see such a country, to see such people, to see such growth and happiness. Individuals not being feeble, but speaking out for the truth, speaking out and teaching the youth, using their voice to educate, not being tied down by the noose of the past, but growing every day to learn to bask in the light of the Lord, in the light of good, in the light of progression, in the light as we should, receiving the light to allow us to grow despite what would and what could have been if people had given up. But they didn't. They live to conquer and to never forget. We live as a fully grown tree as Rwanda, with roots fixed on our peaks and held together by our strength. So we stand together to say never again, never again, never again. To remember, to rebuild, and to renew. Thank you.
Yes, we have lit our candle. Now, if I may please ask all of us to stand up and observe a 1 minute silence. If they can mute the music for us, and let's all observe a 1 minute silence.